happy Sunday.
Hi.
Friends, lovers, and thank you for joining us.
And my big hat.
And Amy's big hat. Welcome to 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, featuring Amy Nasir.
Hi.
In her amazing hat.
Hello.
We are so glad you are here.
We're very happy you're here.
It's April 19th, 2020. We've made it this far.
Yes, we have.
It's the 110th day of 2020. We've made it 110 days into the year. Is it over yet?
Not quite. A little ways.
There are still 250 days until Christmas. And 195 days until...
Halloween, not too bad. Under 200. It's good.
Darn right. And on this day, in history, in 1775, the battles of Lexington and Concord, the American Revolutionary War started.
Well then.
Let's have a revolution.
Let's have a revolution, everybody.
Totally.
I have some knives and some forks I can use.
You didn't go for the firearms, you went for the knives and forks.
Spoons aren't very effective, so...
I guess we keep some of that stuff private, don't we? Oh, we don't have a whole bunch of firearms. We have knives and forks.
Knives and forks.
Knives and forks.
They're all plastic.
I'm just going to bring up our chats here just to see who's talking about what.
Yeah, well, we've got some people joining us.
We do.
Yep, got Cynthia and John and...
They're using words I don't even understand. You'll have to figure that out for me. So the American Revolutionary War did last 8 years, 4 months. I have to look that up. In 15 days, I didn't remember that, through September 3rd, 1785. But as national holidays go, today is National Garlic Day. National Garlic Day, and we have the garlic bag here.
It's beautiful.
It is.
You can open it two ways, up on top there.
It's the strangest thing.
And then you got a zipper on the side.
Zipper, so you can...
Perhaps somebody... hey, Mark. Hey, Rebecca.
What even were they thinking, that you need two ways?
Well, you put a whole bunch in there, and then if you just want to make sure that you're opening it just slightly enough to get...
just for one small vampire?
One small... Yes.
Oh, yes, there it is. The garlic, the stinking rose. There it is.
You roast that up, you put that on some good bread.
And it is effective against vampires. I've been using garlic for years. No vampires.
Stick that into your statistics and data.
Yeah.
0.
Stick it in there.
That is obviously proof of that.
Comes out.
Including emotional vampires. Kept those away too.
Yeah, well, that's the bigger challenge now, isn't it?
Hey, Marcella. Hey, Marcy.
So the podcast of the week. This week, because of the challenges that we're running into, not just with the pandemic, but with the response to it.
Yeah. Hi, Heidi.
I'm going to repeat a podcast recommendation.
Okay.
Way back in early March, I recommended the Yaron Brook show. If you haven't started listening to Yaron Brook, you need to start now, because on all issues related to the pandemic and the economy and liberty issues and doing everything right, nobody's getting it right the way Yaron is.
No one's getting it right the way Yaron is. So that's Y-A-R-O-N.
Y-A-R-O-N Brook. B-R-O-O-K.
Yes. Hey, Doug.
Links will be in the show notes at the end of the podcast, like every episode. But Yaron is uniquely context-keeping.
He is. Very difficult.
But without being so nuanced that he doesn't take a stand. He absolutely does. In clear, specific, uncompromising ways.
Yes.
Definitely a must-listen.
Oh, does he ever dance between those concretes and abstractions ever so well?
Yes, he is a concrete and abstraction dancer. And since Yaron is especially good on the issue of COVID-19, we also need to recommend the OCON, or not OCON, the Ayn Rand Con.
Yes, the
Ayn Rand
Institute.
took place this weekend.
Sorry. Ayn Rand Institute mini
Mini conference. That's right.
Online conference. It was supposed to happen.
It was supposed to be in Chicago, and the darn virus said, no, you can't go to Chicago. So they did it online instead. Outstanding sessions. Yaron was on there. Also, Greg Salmieri was on, professor of philosophy. And another must-see, must-listen, And links to that will also be on the show notes.
Yes.
Remember that name, Greg Salmieri. We'll mention him again in a minute.
He also plays guitar, which is great.
He puts me to shame.
He plays it well.
I put myself to shame. But.
Hey, Paula. Hey, Doug. Hey, Martin.
So the word of the day, and our theme for this episode is morality.
Yes.
As I mentioned online, morality without scarecrows.
Scarecrows.
Without scarecrows.
Ooh.
What do you mean scarecrows? Well,
can garlic,
can garlic scare off the immoral?
Scarecrows?
It can.
Or can it?
Oh, scare off the scarecrows.
Right.
Right. Well,
something like that.
This metaphor has got me way in the weeds. I have no idea where that's going.
Garlic, I think, is a little old. It's a little smelly.
Garlic is smelly. Well, who'd have thought?
Yes, but I'm not a vampire, so it's okay.
Okay, well, that's good. I'd hate to drive you off with that fragrant garlic.
So anyway, scarecrows.
You're saying something about morality, right?
Yes.
Morality, I don't know, 8 letters, it's a word. No, morality, in this context, I use morality and ethics interchangeably. And for the definition, I'll just steal Ayn Rand's definition.
Oh, good.
She writes, what is morality or ethics? It is a code of values to guide man's choices and actions. Mm-hmm. The choices and actions that determine the purpose and the course of his life.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty damn straightforward for something that is usually such an esoteric topic.
Yes, it is very straightforward. It almost sounds scientific.
It almost does.
Yes.
And I will steal a quote from Atlas Shrugged, her big novel.
Big.
Which, look at that. You've got a copy right there.
I can barely lift it.
We can get it up into camera range.
Okay.
The short quote is, and this is profound, the purpose of morality is to teach you not to suffer and die, but to enjoy yourself and live.
What a concept.
Now having been familiar with this concept for so long, it doesn't seem that revolutionary, but I think when I was 25, 28, 30 years old and I read that, I thought, well, people kind of do make ethics a matter of things you shouldn't do, things you can't do, what you must not do, what you must do for other people.
Don't think about that.
And then somebody comes along and says, well, the purpose of morality is to teach you not to suffer and die, but to enjoy yourself and live.
Wow. That sounds,
So morality is not a scarecrow.
Okay. That's what you mean by scarecrow, huh?
In fact, I'll steal another quote.
All right.
Morality, to you, is a phantom scarecrow made of duty, of boredom, of punishment, of pain. A crossbreed between the first school teacher of your past and the tax collector of your present. A scarecrow standing in a barren field, waving a stick to chase away your pleasures.
Yeah. So
that's not the view of morality we want.
Chasing you away. Don't do it. Don't think about it.
Oh, I'm afraid. Don't chase me away. Don't chase away my pleasures.
We've got, hi, David. Hey, Fernando. Hey, Carol.
Yep. I need to step off frame for a second.
All right. Oh, goodness. Wow, Robert. Where'd it go? Yeah, so here is my time to say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Who I haven't said hello to yet.
No, I committed the mortal sin of sitting down without the book of life.
Oh, yes. This is Robert's book that he writes in.
This is my book of, usually...
And look, did you see this?
All of my notes are normally handwritten.
It says life.
Of course.
Robert Nasir.
Well, yeah, it says, subject. Well, what's the subject?
Life.
Yes, that's right.
The universe and everything.
And the reason I needed to go off frame, that is so unprofessional, my gosh, and get this book is because this book contains my many notes from OCON 2019.
OCON.
See, we mentioned the Ayn Rand conference that was supposed to take place this weekend and took place virtually online instead because Chicago was shut down. Mm-hmm. And that got me thinking about the last big conference, the in-person conference, OCON 2019, which was
Cleveland.
A fantastic conference.
It was really great.
And so I was going through all of my many notes from that. And one of the best, I shouldn't say one of the best, they were all good. One of the outstanding talks was by Greg Salmieri, who we mentioned a moment ago.
Greg Salmieri.
Spoke briefly at yesterday's Ayn Rand Con, but his talk, Principles and Personal Values, is available online from 2019.
That's convenient.
How are you going to find that?
Perhaps on YouTube?
Maybe there will be a link in the show notes.
Oh, that's fantastic. What is it called again?
Principles and Personal Values.
Excellent.
Now, in OIST circles, personal values, that people often say optional values. But Greg mentioned that he prefers personal values as against optional values because that sounds too casual and too limited. Mm-hmm. And I especially liked that because even your personal or so-called optional values need to be taken seriously. Some of them need to be taken the most seriously.
That's something that's very different.
They're definitive. They are who you are and what you are.
So you should concentrate more on your personal values than, say, on values that are, benefiting other people, constantly thinking about other people, constantly thinking about, am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing based on what other people think, kind of thing. It's kind of
like a scarecrow might.
Yes.
It's in my notes here. The very first thing I wrote down from Greg speaking was, morality is not a scarecrow chasing away your values. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Very good.
No scarecrows allowed.
Well, I think that we have, John was there actually during this talk.
He was.
And, hey, Ginger. Hey, Brian. Hey, Sean. Oh, and Martin says, where are the show notes? Do you have a podcast?
The show notes will be on Facebook and YouTube in the notes for this video. Mm-hmm. Within half an hour or so after the video wraps up.
Yes, so set your timer.
And
exactly
as far as the podcast goes, we call this a podcast, but it's been a video series so far.
It's a vlog.
I will be working this week on getting the syndication and RSS feeds going.
Yes.
So that people can listen to audio only and don't have to look at me, although Amy's awfully pretty.
Oh, my hats are nice.
But there will be the audio only version available, should be by the end of this week.
Good.
In the meantime, yes, facebook.com/Robert Nasir. And youtube.com/Robert Nasir. Notes can be found in our group, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. We'll do all this at the end of the show.
Yes. And
in any event, back to Greg Salmieri.
Yes.
And principles and personal values. Just a few of the things I wrote down. You've got to listen to the whole talk. It's outstanding.
It's fantastic.
But the second thing I wrote down is the attempt to analyze our values can feel like an attack. Mm. And it's that same scarecrow idea of, if I take my values seriously, doesn't that mean I have to analyze them and maybe I'll decide some of them aren't right and I have to give them up? And that is not the purpose of morality at all. It is neither to arbitrarily condemn your values or to arbitrarily excuse them, but to give you the means to take them seriously and pursue them aggressively.
Yes.
That's me speaking, but that's, I think, consistent with what Greg said. So yes, principles, following principles, is often held as a threat to our values. If I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to be ruthlessly just, if I'm going to have integrity, it means there's a bunch of stuff I can't do and can't have.
Right. Because there are moral imperatives that you must follow. Here's my stick.
Yes, you have to be good, and good must mean something other than good for you, right?
That is right. Oh,
To which one can only say philosophically, pshaw.
Pshaw. Oh, by the way, Jennifer says, hey, Jennifer, you're awesome. But she says, what about a scarecrow with a brain?
Aw, the Wizard of Oz. You're going to take my metaphor and turn it around.
Great question.
Yes, if all scarecrows had brains and, the rich heart, which, of course, the Tin Man was looking for, but the scarecrow had in quantity, then we wouldn't use the metaphor of a scarecrow waving a stick to shoo off your values.
Right.
Yes. So Gregory says principles are a means to our personal values, not something keeping us from pursuing
So they're
them.
Tools. They're helpful tools.
And there's all sorts of great, I won't even read all of my notes because that would be silly. You're going to go watch that video after this.
That's right. You're going to find everything that you need to know.
But two of the takeaways that I wrote down is when you get into the topic of values, you are motivated by the values you've already accumulated up to that point.
Oh.
So one mistake people will make when they start taking values seriously is they say, oh, well, now that I'm rational and now that I'm philosophical, what values should I adopt? And Greg makes an outstanding point that you don't do that. Nobody does that. Rationally, you come into this with the values you've already accumulated up to this point.
Right. There is no morality or philosophical hardware that, chip that you then insert into your slot, and then you're like, okay, now.
Not everybody does that.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that as intrinsically or as foolishly as that.
Right.
So I think back to in my late 20s, early 30s, I was a big fan of rock music.
Yes.
Not just rock and roll, but rock music, hard rock music.
Yes.
And even some really depressing music, Pink Floyd kind of life is hell music. And as I changed my explicit philosophy, I found that music wasn't consistent with it. So I took probably 80%, 90% of my vinyl record albums, put them in those crates that are just the right size for holding records. Took them to, was it Sam's Jams on 9 Mile Road in Ferndale, just outside Detroit, and got pennies on the dollar for all those used records.
So sad.
And it wasn't that I said, "Oh, these are bad now, I must not listen to them."
You didn't like them anymore?
Well, I could see that the state of mind that I got by listening to an album like Pink Floyd's The Wall was cathartic but ultimately depressing.
Right.
So it wasn't, I have to be philosophically correct and get rid of rock and roll. It was a little more subtle than that. But I still think this talk could have saved me from getting rid of a few of those items I probably should have hung on to.
I must say I did this exact same thing when I was about 19 or 20.
With music?
With music.
And with philosophy.
I gave all of my mixtapes from Brave New Waves and my albums to my friends.
Hardcore punk rock.
Well, not just that, but experimental, really sometimes very nihilistic things. And I gave them to my friend Sue, who actually kept some of these things for me.
She's a little miracle worker.
She's awesome. My friend Sue, if you're watching, hello.
She must be.
So
when she finds out she's been name checked, she'll watch it again.
Yeah. So anyway, she had them for me, and it was like Christmas. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, Amy, did you know I've got
these albums,
records you can't get anywhere?
I absolutely just adored them when I was a teenager.
And people are thinking, well, it's probably all on YouTube now, but no, these were obscure.
Some of them were very obscure.
Yeah.
Some you cannot ever get anymore. So anyway, those are my values. Those were your values, and we probably should have held on to those.
Yeah. So my point is, there's people out there who say, oh, well, now that I'm a fan of like Ayn Rand, I can't do this thing and that thing. But that's not what we're talking about so much as you do that in more subtle ways. So I love this line. When you get into the topic of values, you are motivated by the values you've already accumulated to that point. And you may decide, hey, this value is against me. I need to drop that. I can see how that's making me less happy or keeping me away from other things that are more important. That's cool. That's fine. But that is not necessarily what you need to do. You come in with the values you've already got, and you can validate them. You can strengthen them, or you can hone them a little bit and make them more of a value, more of a real reality-based value.
Yes.
A higher value. The other takeaway that I wrote down is... Except I can't read my own handwriting.
Oh.
What's that word?
Let's see.
Take.
Take.
Take
your existing...
Take your existing values seriously. Evaluate your values, but do not, quote, conduct an inquisition on your values.
Ooh, that
unquote.
Sounds like something a scarecrow would do. Sit you down and put you through an inquisition.
So I guess that's more to the first point. But yes, do not conduct an inquisition on your values.
Cynthia says, this feels anti-Marie Kondo, pro-hoarding, smiley face.
Yes. Well, that's one of the risks of having too many values in your life.
And honestly, values, again, are contextual, depending on where you are in life and how your thinking is. And this no longer brings me joy, doesn't spark joy, and then you give it to somebody.
Or it just no longer fits in my house, physically. I can't stuff it in the closet.
Right. Oh, and by the way, Holly joined us and Sylvia joined us too, so hello.
So, outstanding talk. Link is in my show notes. I will add those to the podcast once they're uploaded. There is a reason for that not happening until after, because the entry where I am going to add them doesn't exist until this live stream runs.
Yes.
So it's not that I'm holding back on you. You will get those notes. And you will want to watch that talk by Greg Salmieri. It is outstanding.
And what's life without anticipation? Anticipation in itself is a value.
If ketchup came out of the jar any faster, you wouldn't enjoy it as much.
That's right. You wouldn't be able to...
Jar, bottle, whatever ketchup comes out of.
You just take it for granted if it just...
I know. How much less exciting is ketchup now that we have squeeze bottles?
Right.
A glass jar, and you'd be tempted to get the butter knife. But no, you learn the shake that works.
That's right.
And it teach you to appreciate ketchup. How did we get onto ketchup? So another talk that was at OCON 2019 was Gene Moroney's talk about motivation by love.
Oh, that sounds great.
And the attraction to a positive value as against the avoidance of a negative. Mm-hmm. We talked about that before, but her presentation was outstanding.
Now that's not on YouTube.
That is not on YouTube, but there is an essay that covers much of what she covered in the talk on her Thinking Directions website. A link to that is already in my show notes. I will be copying that as well. You could do a search for OCON 2019, OCON 2019 on YouTube, and find even more talks than I'll be linking to, and all of them are definitely worth watching, worth listening to. They're just outstanding. Ben Bayer's Atlas Shrugged as a romantic novel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Just so many good talks.
I'm looking through this book of life.
The sub-theme of free will in Atlas Shrugged. These are free speech, free minds, free markets. That one I know is online. You can find that by Tara Smith, who is always outstanding.
Yes. Tara Smith, oh my goodness.
But as always, the ones that'll get you choked up will be anything by Lisa Van Dam.
Yes. If you want a good happy cry that you just feel real deep, that's who to go to. Because
her talk, Literature and the Quest for Meaning, includes examples, and all of her examples are outstanding. Mm-hmm. And she makes the point, and this is worth considering if you haven't been doing reading during the downtime that our current pandemic offers us. She says, reading great books widens our outlook and helps us develop the habit of noticing. Now, I know the value of reading. I know spiritual fuel. I know emotional fuel. But just that insight that reading great works opens your eyes wider, even when you're not reading great works. She says literature makes us spiritually ambitious.
Yes. Yeah, and it makes you notice things. Oftentimes, if you have a really good artist, a good writer, or however, they stylize these moments for you. They stylize these worlds that they put together, that they present, and they basically essentialize a lot of these things that in regular life you wouldn't necessarily focus on, but if you read some great art, you will focus on them, and it's a wonderful, rewarding experience.
Yep. She says, great novels leave echoes in the human soul. How true is that?
That's beautiful.
Outstanding.
Yep.
So definitely find any videos you can that I haven't already linked to, or that I won't already have linked to. Somebody can tell me what tense that is. Past, perfect, future, something.
Yes.
That I won't already have linked to by the time I update the show notes. Watch them all. They are all outstanding. Part of the reason why it was kind of important to mention these is because OCON 2020 apparently has been postponed.
Yes, and, very sad.
Remains to be seen when that's going to happen, but
yes,
when it does, make sure you're on board with that.
Yes, that was to be in Austin, Texas.
Was to be.
And we have Catherine. Hey, Catherine Gord. And Mike, your brother, and Jim.
Oh, cool.
Hey, guys.
With family on, that means I need to be more serious. No, because my family is kind of like crazy awesome. And,
yeah, they're more Howard Rourke than Francisco d'Anconia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Although if anyone was more Francisco, it was Mike.
That's very true.
Always had an extravagance that Paul and I were lacking. Anyway, you don't want to hear about my family. You want to hear
yes.
about your homework.
Oh.
That's what you want. You want homework.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that, or should I talk about my new values?
Yes, you should.
Yeah?
Yes, why don't you take a couple minutes here to tell us about your new values?
Well, I just want to express my deep love for, I'm going to go ahead and take my hat off.
No!
I know. Look at how gorgeous this is, by the way. This is my very first purchase from Mrs. Cohen's Millinery in Greenfield
Was that the first hat?
The very first one.
Wow.
It was during holiday nights that I bought it, and I was able to go through the beautiful holiday nights presentation in the village with this on, and I just felt like a superstar.
You have the most amazing hats.
They're great.
I have this old hat that I bought at, I think,
you got to get some new hats.
Target or something.
Or you got to dress it up.
Yeah.
Speaking of dressing things up.
Yes, what do you got?
I just want to say that I'm wearing masks outside. I know it's a strange fashion trend, but
I'm not seeing fashion there.
I know it's a little bit.
It's not doing it for me.
Little plain, kind of basic white, maybe minimalistic if you really want to go for that kind of thing. But I have figured out ways to dress this up. And I don't know. I think I'm going to leave this off because I'm not so sure if you can really hear me behind this.
Oh yeah, it works.
All right, just for the effect, I suppose I might take it off in the mid part. So put this on, adjust it.
It looks more like a beak. What can you do with something like that?
Yeah. So what I've done, just to kind of make the world a little bit more cheery,
okay,
I have devised some ways of fashion to actually spruce this look up.
I did not expect a full fashion show here. What do you got?
All right, we've got
cow print.
This is a lovely accessory, especially if you want to just have a casual experience at Meijer, or Costco or Sam's Club or however. It's very nice. It's all cotton.
Far more charming than just the mask, I'll say that.
Yeah, so you've got, it's comfortable, it's loose. You don't want to suffocate yourself, but it is cotton, so it's okay.
Okay.
But it's nice, it's cheerful, it's cow print.
It's cow prints.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. So,
all right.
The next thing here I have.
Oh, there's more.
I have a few other options that
Okay.
you might want to consider, something like this. So I found this scarf. This is actually my mom's scarf. And it says, if you can see it, I love you. So if you want to express to people around you how much you appreciate them, admire them, and love them,
well,
you can go ahead and put this on.
Certainly nobody would be intimidated by seeing you walk into a
That's
store
right.
with that on.
Be like, yeah, heart everybody. See, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love you and you and you and you and you. Just like that.
Very nice.
We got that. If you're looking for something a little bit more elegant, but still pretty, pretty lightweight, pretty easy to wear, no fuss, no muss kind of thing.
A shawl.
You've got a lovely shawl here. You can see it's quite breathable. And, put this on. And it's quite lightweight. Put your hair over it. It doesn't really obstruct you in any way. But it gives you, some... you might have to tuck it a little bit here. But it gives you a little bit of elegance, A little bit of, joie de vivre. Kind of like you're in Paris, It's very nice.
Literally, je ne sais quoi.
And now lastly, if you are feeling a little bit more elegant, if you have a special occasion at Meijer,
I totally am.
You can really fancy yourself up. Kind of wonder what this jingly stuff is, huh? if you are a former belly dancer like I am, and you got one of these, this is what you do. And you put this on, just like that. And you go out into the world. You have to kind of tuck this in, I think, a little bit, but see, it's beautiful.
That's extraordinary.
You can do the shoulder roll. You can do some nice things with your hands here, just like that. If you're in the cereal aisle, you can do a shimmy, kind of thing. Yeah, so there are countless ways to dress up your basic KN95 mask look and keep yourself safe and keep others safe and have fun with it. So,
well, there you go. I knew Amy had props. I did not expect a fashion show. So this is a bonus.
Yes.
And, yeah, extraordinary.
Put my hat back on. Yeah, so there you are. If you want to share any of your ideas with me, you're certainly welcome to. Get a picture going, put it up on the 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir Facebook wall or however, private message us. Or, we can put together like a little photo album of people's, creativity and the way that they dress up. They're beautiful N95 or KN95 or surgical masks or homemade masks or whatever you've got. So there you are.
There you are. Great.
And
what fun.
Yes, Cynthia says a ponytail on the back of your head can help keep the scarf in place. That's excellent.
That's what I do.
So oftentimes you can use barrettes or pins or things like that to kind of secure your mask so you don't have to be fumbling with it.
Well, I don't use barrettes. I'll tie my hair back, but
yes.
A barrette would not be
You'll have to find something more
me.
masculine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm obviously very concerned about that.
Right. And so Martin says he uses a buff of merino wool. By the way, I love merino wool. Merino wool is, I actually have a lot of different things that are made of merino wool. The Greenfield Village actually has merino sheep, so we actually produce merino wool at the village.
I feel like I should go grab that sweater, but I'm not going to go off camera again. We'll save that for next time.
Yeah, it's very, very soft and lovely. And actually, there's a place called the Aran Sweater Market. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. ARAN. Aran Sweater Market in Ireland. You can actually purchase some really great products there.
We should put a link to that in the show notes.
We could do that.
Do that.
Yes.
But you'll have to give it to me because I haven't, obviously, had no idea you were going to say that. So help me with that one.
I will help that. John says...
diaper for your face. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. I will take that in the spirit it was given and for all that it's worth.
Yeah, for those times that you suffer from verbal diarrhea.
See, I knew there was. You're just courting controversy with this, but nobody's going to tell Amy what she can, can't, shouldn't do.
Life is normative. There are ises and then there are oughts.
Those are words.
So, friends, everybody, Robert's got some homework for us. Tell us, what is our
first
homework?
of all, the Post-it note of the week, because every week there is a Post-it note that I encourage you to copy, write down, put it on a Post-it note, put it on your bathroom mirror, on your refrigerator, someplace you will see it. This week's Post-it note is not one that I wrote. We talked about OCON, we talked about Ayn Rand Con, but we didn't talk about GlowCon.
Oh, yes.
But last year's GlowCon took place over the Labor Day holiday, Memorial Day holiday, as it always...
Labor Day
holiday, as it always does. I know exactly what I'm talking about, other than the words part. So over the Labor Day holiday, we had our annual GlowCon, our annual conference of speakers. And during my talk, in which I spoke about wisdom, as I always do, except when I don't, I did pass out Post-it notes and had everybody write a Post-it note.
Yes.
So this one came in, it was not by me. But it says, ideas are more important as tools than as weapons.
So ideas are more important as tools than as weapons.
So whoever wrote that, assuming you're watching this podcast, chime in on either my wall or on the 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir Facebook group page and let us know, because I'm not sure who wrote that.
Yeah,
but it's outstanding.
I have my suspicion who might starts with an A. And
well, you thought it was Andrew, right?
I think it's Andrew.
Yeah. Ideas are more important as tools than as weapons. And that ties in with so much that we've talked about on 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir.
Yes.
The fact that your ideas are for you to live your life, and that defeating enemies and addressing threats is the smaller part of that.
Yes.
But achieving your values, that's the meat, that's the substance, that's the point, that's 97% of life. So I loved it when I saw ideas are more important as tools than as weapons.
Yes.
Write that down on a Post-it note, put it on your bathroom mirror, see how it improves your outlook, how it helps you think more about values and less about the threats to your values. Love that one. So your homework for the week, previously I asked you to name your 3 top values. This was in accordance with Andrew Bernstein's presentation, How to Be an Impassioned Valuer.
Yes.
And it's important to know what your top values are, and then to periodically make sure you're really living the life that allows you or enables you or leads to you achieving those values. So here's what I want you to do. Ask yourself this again. Have your answers changed? It's okay if they do. But the next question is your behavior still aligned with your top 3 values?
Yeah, it's good to self-monitor there, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And finally, if not, you know what to do. And the answer isn't just fix that. Yes, hit yourself with the Scarecrow stick. But no, the answer is on paper, and I will always say on paper, never just carry this stuff in your head.
Yeah.
On paper, write down your next one action that you will take to resolve that conflict and get back on that track.
Good idea. Just one action. That
one action. Because everybody can do one thing. And if you're feeling like that's too large, find one small action. But something that moves you in the direction of your values. In fact, if you're not sure which action, I don't think I've talked about this one before, but you can use the advice of Gary Keller.
Oh, okay.
One of the 2 founders of Keller Williams Real Estate.
All right.
Gary Keller wrote a book called The One Thing.
Okay.
And that's what you can do, is use the one thing. And the one thing is a question that Keller asks himself regularly.
Yeah.
And the question that Gary Keller asks himself, the one thing is, and it's on a Post-it note for me, you might do that too. What is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So if you've re-examined your top 3 values, you know what they are, and you see any disparity between the action you're taking and what it is you want to achieve, you can use Gary Keller's advice. What is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary?
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about this homework? Just go ahead and post them if you like.
Yes, Amy is monitoring your comments.
Yes.
Much more consistently and better than I am.
And hello, Annie. Thanks for joining us.
Now, Jim has pointed out that you could sell tickets to your belly dancing show.
I could. All you need to do is go to Robert Nasir at Patreon or PayPal.
There you go. Yes, I have reminders here. Reminders. The show notes will be on the show description after the show. And this time they're already typed up, so they'll be there pretty quick. Remember over Easter, we had an Easter dinner and people had to wait a long time.
Yes, that's right.
This will be much more prompt.
Yes,
because I know you are eager
yes,
to click these links and access these resources and watch Greg's talk. Also, this video and all of the other 7 past videos of this now 8-video series can be found at facebook.com/Robert Nasir or youtube.com/Robert Nasir.
That's right. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. If you want to support the show, in ways above and beyond what we already love, which is your shares and your likes and your hearts. Oh my gosh. But you can financially support the show as well by going to patreon.com/Robert Nasir. And because somebody not only asked last week, but contributed last week by PayPal.
Yes.
If you're avoiding Patreon for political or personal reasons, I do have a PayPal account, and it uses my primary email address, which is robtnasir@aol.com.
robtnasir@aol.com.
Why is it robtnasir@aol.com? Because it's AOL, and back in the old days, AOL, you couldn't have
You'd have to have
10 characters or less.
limit.
Yeah. So 10 characters, yeah. robtnasir, robtnasir@aol.com.
Old school.
I don't think there's anything wrong with me having an AOL.com address. You kids with your Gmail and your stuff. So.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to give a special shout out to Jennifer, who is on YouTube right now. And even though we have tons of people on Facebook, we love you all. But Jennifer is special because she is on YouTube. And I just love that. So thank you, Jennifer. Yeah.
So if you have addressed all the questions, I think we're almost at 5 minutes here.
I think so. Yeah, Jim says that reminds me, the one thing comment, it reminds me of a scene from City Slickers when Curly talks about the most important thing in life. One thing.
I haven't.
We'll have to
film.
watch that again, Jim. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's a cool In Excess song. Yeah.
It is their first hit.
That's right.
Before they made it really big, but they were on MTV with it.
Yes.
MTV, music television. Now that makes me feel old. My AOL.com email address doesn't make me feel old, but my wistful thoughts about MTV used to be us playing music. That makes me feel old.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about doing my homework because I think I already know what I'm going to be doing. That one thing.
Outstanding.
Yes.
And you can report back on it next week because we will be back next Sunday at 6 o'clock.
We will.
Unless we're not.
No, we will be.
Hey, we haven't missed a show yet. This is 8 in a row.
This is a metaphysical absolute going on right here, 6 o'clock every Sunday.
Damn straight.
Yep.
Or darn straight. No, we're going to lose our, children-friendly.
It's Beaver Dam.
Beaver Dam.
Yes. So, everybody.
So, thank you for joining us. I wish you, and I mean you, success, flourishing, clarity of values, and love.